This recording is to show you how we go from the initial first cycle where we were using the dibbles and levels from the teacher's DS spreadsheet to going to the next level where you're going to use that cycle spreadsheet that you just finished up and to create the new one for the next cycle. So this is my new one for the next cycle. I've already prepped the tabs at the bottom. Each cycle you will add the next level because you'll have kids that are in, like say, example for this one, letter patterns, who mastered it and now I'm ready to move on to the next one. So you're constantly shifting your numbers. Try my best. I always tried my best to keep teachers teaching the same level, but obviously with adding a level each time, there were teachers that would have to shift up because we're adding a level, and also alphabet knowledge should be getting smaller and smaller and needing fewer teachers. So again, I cheated a little bit and looked back at our original that we used this year. So I already know where I moved the teachers. But I just wanted to show you how I did it. I actually worked backwards compared to what we did with the first one. The first one, we took everybody from the DDS spreadsheet, copy-pasted to the All Students tab, and then divided them out among the groups using that All Students tab. This time, I'm going to work backwards. I'm going to work with the highest group that just completed and work my way down. So to give you an example, this is the Cycle 2 completed spreadsheet. So you can see here where teachers have added what they feel based on data and teacher observation, or excuse me, pre-post test data and their teacher observations. So all of that is data to determine what that student should do next. Should they repeat the current level or should they move up to the next one? So I'm going to start with the highest level letter pattern. So I'm starting with Melissa, and I am going to filter, and I just want those that are moving up to blends and digraphs. And for now, what I did, because that was the highest group and I didn't know how many were actually going to be in the highest group, I put everybody in Melissa's group because she was staying blends and she was moving up to blends and digraphs. So I put all kids from those three groups on Melissa's tab, and then I realized, oh, I need 2 teachers for this, and so I split them in half. But that's what I did here. So I would take these students, they all need blends and digraphs, copy, and paste. And then I would go to Angie's letter pattern group, figure out who needed blends and digraphs, and copy and paste them. Still all in Melissa's group, Melissa Martin's group. Then I went to Stacy's letter, and this one's already been filtered. We want blends and digraphs. And there were additional filters here. Make sure that your filters are correct so you don't miss anybody. It can be tricky. Believe me, it took me a good bit to create these to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay, so now we have all the kids that are going up to blends and digraphs, and so obviously if there were any, which there weren't any from Wendy, yes, there were 2 from Wendy's homeroom. So let's just say we're going to take these and we're going to put them with Wendy. I think that's exactly half. This is a small one. So we'll move them. So it's, again, numbers game, trying to keep the homeroom students together. So then here we've got probably still too many to be half. 36 and 17. So still, you can tell it is a numbers game. So then, after I figure out those numbers there, I move down to letter patterns. So I go back to that spreadsheet they just finished, going back to my highest group and getting my repeaters, those that need to repeat letter patterns. Now, to keep track of who's repeating and how many times they are repeating, here under their level, obviously this is blends and digraphs, and I would put repeating. And then if next cycle they need to, letter patterns. Now say they're not showing up, we're going to have them come to letter patterns again next time, I would put repeating second time. And then I would have, repeating third time, repeating fourth time. However, if students don't show up, then we keep them repeating the same group because we don't know if they're ready to move on. When you get to mid-year and the homeroom teacher does that mid-year DIPLS benchmark, then we can reassess and say, okay, they haven't been coming, but look, this is based on their new DIPLS data, we can either go ahead and move them up to whichever level makes sense based on their DIPLS data. So I would continue to do that. Grab those repeaters from all of those groups. I have to say now it's going to be funny on me and not copy and paste. They came from Tanner, so I'm going to keep them with Tanner. Maybe they came from Davis because that's Davis's group. Yeah, that was Davis's group. So Melissa's group automatically went with Angie since Melissa moved up. That's what I did. So keeping them with the same teacher. Unless there's a reason you feel like it should be different. The more consistency we can have with striving readers, the better. It is hard because moving levels, they move teachers. So just keeping that in mind as you're creating groups. So again, just going through copying and pasting. So I would do the same thing for, now I have all the students from letter patterns where they've moved up or they're repeating. So then I'm going to go down to letter sounds, and I'm going to start with those that are moving up to letter patterns. And I'm going to put them in, so this was Melita's group, but they're moving up to letter patterns. So I would put them with Mac just because she had to move up. You'll obviously see that I ended up having 3 based on the number of students to make it the numbers as low as possible and equal as possible. We end up with 3 with letter patterns, 4 with letter sounds, and only 2 for alphabet knowledge. Again, it's a numbers game, but that's how I worked backwards. And then I just copied and pasted from each tab to create my All Students tab. So yeah, and having your final numbers at the end, again, being able to share numbers if you're asked by admin about striving readers. This is where you're going to come. And so again, it's important for teachers to put notes here as needed and to make sure they're tracking that pre-post test data, because that's how they're going to determine if a student goes to the next level or not. And just making sure that teachers realize why the documentation is important. Yes, it's another spreadsheet, but it is important because you need to be able to look at data and turn around and report it if asked. Okay, so I think that is it for striving readers. I hope that is helpful.